morning from the Front Porch, and we have a great special guest today. It's Coman Sproles. How you doing, Coleman?
I'm doing good. How you, Steph?
Good, man. And Coleman is from the 69 band, and let me tell you what, man. I never thought I'd hear that sound when I left Austin, Texas, man. You got that really good Austin rock sound, you know, that ZZ Top vibe, you know. I really caught that vibe last night when I watched you guys play. It was amazing, man. Took me back home. So welcome to the Front Porch.
It's good to be here.
So where are you originally from, Coleman?
Originally, I born in Washington, D.C., and I lived in Rockville, Maryland for just a short time, a couple of years. And then my parents moved to Damascus, Maryland, which is over here. It's the very northern corner of Montgomery County. And I grew up there, and then after I got out of school, I lived around Mount Airy, and I lived in Imesville. I lived around I've lived at Jefferson, and I've lived in Frederick, a couple different places in town. I've probably lived in 20 places around Maryland. Germantown, Gaithersburg, Rockville. Oh man, I can't even remember all the places. So anyway, and then after that I traveled around a lot. I traveled around the country. I played in about 27. I haven't played in the whole United States, but I played about 27 states, and I played in Canada.
Wow, that's amazing. So you guys are getting around pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the band is just a really dynamic band, and I can see why, you know, you guys are so successful at getting around, man. I really enjoyed this sound.
Okay.
So how long have you been performing?
I really didn't start performing till about 1975, 74. I didn't start playing until late in life. I didn't start really playing until I was about almost 16, which, you know, when you get older, that doesn't seem that old. That seems young.
Right.
When you're 15, almost 16, and all your buddies are playing in bands, you know, you get the guys that are 15 and 16 are playing with other guys in bands, performing and playing in, you know, bars and stuff, playing with other guys that are 18, 19. You're pretty far behind, actually.
Right.
So, but I started probably performing about 1975.
75, yeah. I remember that's about when I started getting into it as well, you know. The 70s were great. I mean, you know, I was talking with Dave DeMarco. He's the bass player for Crack the Sky, and he said, you know, what was really cool about the 70s, the music was really good. It was really good music, and so we were lucky to have that, you know, foundation to work from, you know, when we started playing music. So what was your inspiration to get into the music scene? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was, Jimi Hendrix really influenced me a lot. When I saw him playing at Woodstock, and went and saw the movie Woodstock, when I saw him up there, I thought, you know, that looks like a good job for me. I think I could do that job. But another thing, I actually got a guitar on my 15th birthday, and I could not play, and at all. My sister bought me a guitar and an amp, and I tried to play guitar for about 3 months, just playing along with Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix, whatever, you know, like classic rock at the time. It wasn't classic rock; it was up to date at that time.
Right.
Whatever, you know, records I had. And it seemed like I'd be close, but then when I turned the record off, I didn't have it. So I gave up and quit trying. And about this, so I was at 15, and then almost a year passed. It was like August. And it was really eating me up inside that I wasn't playing it. My sister got me the guitar and everything, and I did want to play guitar. And here she bought me a guitar and an amp, electric guitar and an amp. I mean, it's a Silvertone, but still, you know. And I wish I had that guitar, and I wish I had that amp today. I wish I hadn't given it away. But anyway, so I saw some guys across town, Scott Elman and Jeff Fettermeyer and Mike Wysong. Scott played guitar, and he probably had the most experience. But he wasn't an advanced guitar player by any means.
Right.
And but they were playing at this little backyard party, and people were enjoying it and having fun. And on that day, I said, I can get that far. I can at least get that far as, for people to have fun.
Right.
So that was the day I really made my mind up. I wasn't quite 16. It was about 2 months shy of my 16th birthday. But so then I went and got some books that said, A minor, D, C, the mechanics of, I was like, oh, I didn't want to sign up for this. I wanted to play, Cream and Jimi Hendrix and Mountain and stuff. That's what I wanted to do. But I said, okay. And so I started off with it. And I was not particularly talented. I did not take to it fast. I had a friend, Richard Myers, who I started playing guitar. At that time, I really made my mind up at the end of August.
Right.
About 1971.
Right.
He and I were pretty good buddies. He's come over house. One day he goes, I think I get a guitar. And I've been playing about 6 weeks because I could strum a little bit then. And, I was starting to get a little mechanical on it. So he said, I think I do. And about 6 weeks passed. He comes over to my house and we're playing. He's playing Neil Young and stuff. And he's playing Alice Cooper, I'm 18, and all these pop songs and stuff. And he's playing the chords and the riffs. I'm like, really? So I'm hitched up with him.
Right.
I'm going to catch a ride with this guy.
Right.
You know? And we're already buddies. So I'm like, that's even better. Right?
Right.
So I learned off him for a while. And then he only played about 6 months, though. And he really had a talent. He could have been like, I mean, I don't know who to compare him to, but if I had, I want to say Eddie Van Halen, but maybe not like that, because guys like that start when they're 5 and mom and dad play, and you know what I mean?
Right.
So he's not like that, but he could have did a lot. He really just, boom, had a lot of talent. I remember we went to a party, and I don't know if I want to say this or not, but at that time you were smoking pot and getting high and everything.
Right.
And he's only been playing like 3 months or something. He just got out and everybody was jamming. He just got out and played the bass.
Wow. Just a natural, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
But he only
awesome.
played about 6 months, and then I just kept playing and the Turtle, I just wasn't very talented. I'm not saying it to be humble. And as a matter of fact, I don't really think I'm particularly outstanding talent now. And you don't have to say it. I'm not being humble. I just giving my honest opinion.
You have a unique style the way you play.
Well,
and you know what I love about it is it just comes across as, raw, but good. I mean, it's just right there. It hits the spot, I think that type of music, a lot of the older rock music, you really don't want to push it too far, If you push it too far, then you take away from the whole vibe, And I was watching you last night, and I was like, man, this guy is right on. The tone's awesome. You got them old Strats you're playing, man, and it was just all together, and so I think, if you look at the guys from ZZ Top, Billy Gibbons, the way he plays, it's not all technical,
No.
but it's awesome. It's right on the spot. It hits the mark, and it really resonates with people,
Yeah.
And I think that's what music should do, and I saw that last night, man. So, all the years that you've been doing that, man, it all came out. And I really didn't know what to expect because I'd never seen you guys before. But wow, what a pleasant surprise that was for me. And, Thomas, he'd been telling me, you got to see these guys. You got to see these guys. I'm like, all right. And I had rehearsal last night, but I said, you know what? I'm going to go right after rehearsal and I'm going to check you guys out. Man, I'm glad I did, man. It's just such a treat. And I didn't even want to leave,
Well, fine.
And I stuck around till you guys were done, and it was just good conversation too, I love a down-to-earth band where, when they're on breaks, they're just out there just doing the just mingling with the crowd, talking about life,
Yeah.
Not getting caught up in I only have 20 minutes. I want to go outside and just get away from everybody and stuff like that.
Because I used to live around here, and I lived around here a long time, and I played around here a long time. So I've been living in Myrtle Beach 15 years. And so when I come back here, it's kind of like, coming back home. It's kind of strange. Now, South Carolina is like home. So now it's like leaving home to go home. Then when I leave here, it's like leaving home to go home. But I do love it there, and I have a lot of friends,
Right.
deep friends. There's a couple people there last night. I've known them since, I've known them 50 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, or longer than that,
Right.
But so I have a lot of friends around here and so, when you come back up, you want to talk.
Right. You know what amazes me about Maryland is, especially this part of Maryland, the north central part of Maryland, is the music talent pool here is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, wow,
Yeah.
there are a lot of bands, a lot of bands.
It's a lot of good bands. Well, that's one thing when you travel around the country a bit. Like when I say I'm not that talented, I don't mean I'm not talented at all. But I've been playing a long time, 50 couple years. So, I should know something if I stuck with it at all. So, but when you travel around and stuff, like you might be in, some little town in Iowa or something, and you go in there and you're playing or whatever, and maybe after you're done, some other club's still going or whatever. You could be, and it could be anywhere, not necessarily Iowa, Wisconsin, doesn't matter,
Right.
Ohio. And they go, oh, there's bands down the street and everything, and we're going to go down there, okay. So you go down here, and these guys are fantastic. You're like, man, I am out in the middle of nowhere, and these guys are great. Right. And you find there's a lot of good talent all over.
Right.
And that's why the music business is hard, because there are so many really talented people. I mean, I think really it really gets down to you got to really love it, and
Right.
I think it really does. You almost have to it has to be in your heart and stuff. And
Yeah, you really have to be passionate about it to stick with it as long as, you and I have. A lot of guys our age, I think that's what drives it, is just we love what we doing. It's a lot of work, loading in and loading out. But when you're up on that stage, man, there's nothing like that feeling of just connecting with the guitar and connecting with the people that you're trying to articulate that with. And it's just amazing. And I saw that last night. I saw that energy. It was just really cool, man. So do you remember the name of your very first band?
Yeah, I think the very first band I played in with Slim, and Slim played the bass, and Danny Noonan played the drums, and Jimmy Cooper sang. And Jimmy Cooper and Danny, they're passed away now. Slim's he's still alive, but he and the name of the band was Bitter Creek. Slim's still alive, but he don't play anymore.
Bitter Creek.
Bitter Creek.
What kind of music was it?
It's actually kind of like what I'm playing now.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So it's kind of like
similar.
a ZZ vibe, right?
As a matter of fact, from Danny Noonan was from Chalmette, Louisiana. So he had a bunch of friends and stuff, and he turned me on to ZZ Top's first album. So I actually played Brown Sugar from ZZ Top back in 1975 or something.
Right.
And the years went by, and I played it for a number of years, and then I quit playing it. Then I started playing it again in around 1986 in some bands. And then I actually recorded that song in 1996 or something on the Been There CD. And I didn't do that much to the song. I didn't change it that much. I just did a little bit of my version. But anyway, so yeah, I kind of played like I do now.
Well, that's cool, man.
Somebody would come down to Myrtle Beach, hadn't seen me in 20 years. When I first moved down there, it's about 15 years ago, and I hadn't seen the guy. And so I just moved down there, and I was trying to get another band together. We were rehearsing in this place at the Spokes and Bones. We were rehearsing up in the loft up there, and the guy comes in, he says, I heard you playing. He said, I knew it was you. You said you're still playing some of the same songs, and you play the same way. I was like, well,
Right. Well, if you got something good, man, you're going to stay with it, and I think that's good stuff. I grew up with that, that was, the Austin sound was really where it was at, where, I was in San Antonio, Texas. You couldn't get away from it. If you weren't listening to that type of music, that type of rock music, then you were listening to country. It was like George Strait, and then ZZ Top and George Thorogood, and you had the Stevie Ray and his brother up there in Austin. Yeah, that was it, man. That was what we were immersed in, and it was just really a good experience to be around that. 6th Street in Austin. That's where it was all happening.
I guess it's still happening there, ain't it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's still happening there. It's just a little bit of a different vibe, but still the same sound,
Yeah. I'm sure there's at least some spots it's still happening.
I saw a video of Billy Gibbons playing on a street corner in Austin on Guadalupe and 6th Street, and nobody knew who he was. He was just out there with the guitar chopping away.
Nobody knew who he was?
Nobody knew who he was. There was all young people from the university across the street. And none of those kids knew who he was, but they stopped and they were watching, because he was just, picking away at his guitar out there on the street by himself, And it just blew me away. I'm like, these kids do not know who this guy is, man.
Well, you got to put it in perspective. When we were kids, if we were kids in the 60s or 70s, whatever, if somebody talked about somebody from the 1930s, 40s,
right.
We didn't, you might have known who Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra were, but you go back just a little bit into, into the back tiers of the entertainer stuff.
Yeah.
You don't know who.
I guess from my eyes, because, we grew up with that. And we knew who the guy was. We were.
Well, if they hear some of his songs on the radio, they'll go, oh, I know that. They've heard them.
Right.
Especially the newer ZZ stuff. When I say newer, I mean, from the 80s when they had great big records in the 80s. So they heard that on the radio, they would know that. They might not know it's Billy Gibbons.
Yeah, right.
And Dusty Hill. And Rue Beard, the only guy with no beard.
Right. His last name was Beard. That's cool, man. So, what other instruments do you play besides guitar?
Well, I did play banjo a bit. I play harmonica.
Oh, that's cool.
Bit, but I don't really perform on it. I think I might work on a little more. Might start playing harmonica a little bit. I do like it.
Yeah, that's cool. Just one of those type of instruments where you just get out and you just immerse yourself into it.
Yeah.
Into your own little space,
Yeah, harmonica players, they got it made, and they say, here, I brought my instrument. And they pull it out of their pocket.
Hey, man, you can't beat that, man.
To be said for
load-in's easy and load-out's easy, man. It's almost like the vocalist guys, they show up with a microphone, I got my mic. Where do you want me to set up,
But I did play banjo quite a bit, and I really haven't played it. I think about going back. It's hard for me to go back to playing it because then I go OCD, and I'm just trying to keep up with the guitar. But I do some guitar rolls that I got off the banjo, and it took me a long time to figure it out because on the banjo on the 5-string banjo you have a high drum string, so that the rolls are set up so you're in G and C, right. Or even D. You can still play that high G even against a D chord because it's a fourth or whatever.
Right.
But it's also drowning the key, but it also, that high fourth goes along with the D chord. Like if that was a low G, it would be like, oh, I don't know about that.
Right.
But that high G is okay. So you just can't pick up the banjo and learn, if you know banjo, you just can't pick up a guitar and change it over.
Right.
The riffs. So It took me a long time. I don't know why I did that. I went back to playing. I know one thing. I went to a bluegrass festival and I was playing banjo and everything. And, I wanted to see some of these guys play and everything. Well, the guys in the parking lot were amazing. The guys in the parking lot blew you out. It's like, my God, these aren't even, they're freaking here. They're not even the performers. They're playing in the parking lot.
Right. Yeah,
so
man.
I thought, I'd been playing guitar about 12 years at that time. I'd been playing banjo about 5. So I thought maybe I'll go back to playing guitar. I better do that. So I did.
Right.
But I never gave up on those kind of finger rolls. And I had to I didn't really have any instructions on how to do it. I guess they probably would now. Maybe I could also maybe do some videos where I show how to. I don't know a lot of stuff, you know,
Right.
but it's kind of like one of those things where I only have a certain amount of riffs that I do, but those riffs are mine.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not copied off anybody.
Right.
So, but it took me a long time, and I remember one night we were playing, and I figured out how to, and I kind of like in my mind or in my head, my ears or whatever, I kind of knew that there was a way to go across the strings,
Yeah.
like down and across at the same time, and I could do it. But it's kind of jazzy. It's kind of also, it's also kind of you know, out of key and stuff. But if you start off and then, you know, where you end up, you're okay.
Right.
I mean, I do other riffs that are just, you know, like just major and minor pentatonics and stuff, but picking with open string.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like rock guitars, it's always mostly closed positions.
Yeah.
But on the banjo, you like play a note and then play open string, play a note, play an open string.
Right.
So you get that kind of thing going. So I do that, but one night I was doing that and I did it. I said, I just did it. You know, I was like all excited inside. So we were playing some other songs. I said, I'm gonna try this one too. And I did it again, you know. And so I did it like I did like 3 or 4 times in like 45 minutes. You know, played for a couple hours, but I stuck in everything I could, right? So I said to the sound man, Switch, he was running sound. And I said, man, I got this new riff. It just came to me, and he said, I know, don't beat it to death.
Don't you love those kind of guys?
I know, don't beat it to death.
Yeah. You know, he was excited inside for your success, man.
Yeah.
But that's cool, man. You know, I think that's probably the best way to learn music, too, is, you know, where you just have one of those accidental moments where you just of clarity and you're like, wow, I did it, man. That's pretty badass, you know, and then you're just, I want to keep doing that, you know? Yeah. So that's a good story, man. So let's see, what performers, we've talked about performers that influenced you, the Hendrixes and the band Cream, you know, little Eric Clapton and stuff like that from the late 60s, early 70s.
Well, later when I got into blues more, you know, you always end up getting into blues.
Right.
I like John Lee Hooker a lot. And everybody likes Albert King. Right. I actually just really started listening to Albert King because I heard everybody talking about Albert King this, Albert King that. I thought, man, I need to listen to Albert King. And then I listened to him, I was like, that's why. And then I realized, oh, and Freddie King too. I like Freddie King a lot.
Right.
I never really tried to play B.B. King too much because I always thought he was such a good singer. I didn't want to touch that.
Right.
Although Freddie was a good singer too. Albert wasn't bad. I was pretty good too. But
you got a good Memphis sound, you know, and that has its own phrase on its own, you know, it's its own voice, you know. Yeah. When you hear that Memphis sound, you know, I mean, it's what inspired Elvis, you know.
Right.
Is that good old Memphis blues?
Yes, sooner or later you're gonna get into the blues. You know, you might start off with Jimi Hendrix and, you know, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck. Of course, Jeff Beck, he just passed away.
Right.
You know, I don't know. He's kind of like Jimi Hendrix in a way. He's like, man, he's out there all by himself.
Right.
I don't know how he does what he does, but he does it.
Just did his own thing, you know. Yeah. He didn't, you know, look at things as if there were rules or, you know, it has to be done this way. He's just like, no, I'm just going to do it my way, you know, the way I want to do it. Wow, we got some air traffic going over the top, don't we? That's a fun thing about the front porch. You know, we get to experience all these ambient noises around us, birds, cars, airplanes. You know, no, we're not under attack. We're just they had a jet and a helicopter and about 2 other airplanes all converge at the same time.
It's beautiful weather.
Yeah, it's
cool.
Nice. So Any weird moments on stage? I know, you know, when we perform, and especially performing for a lot of years, you know, you sometimes have strange things happen when we're up on stage playing, you know, you get that wanderer that might come on, or somebody come up and try to play your guitar while you're playing your guitar, or, you know, anything you want to share that may have happened to you on stage?
Oh man, a lot of things. Some of the things we did on stage, I don't even know if I want to say. My mother and father have passed away, so it's not so bad.
Okay.
But I definitely wouldn't want to say in front of them. But
Right.
The way I really got to traveling was I played around Frederick area and Mount area and Damascus, but really mostly Mount area and Frederick and Gaithersburg, Germantown, Rockville. But we also started playing in Winchester, over towards Winchester, Virginia, and Middletown, Virginia. I really wanted to go on the road is what I wanted to do. And I kept telling guys that. So I want to go on the road. I want to travel around. And so sometimes guys would just quit because they'd be like, I don't want to travel. Or guys we wouldn't start playing together because I'd tell them I want to travel and they'd be like, well, I don't want to do that.
Right.
But, you know, we traveled around. What happened was we were playing this little place right down here by Frederick, right on off the Monocacy River on 355, and called Pete and Benny's. It's some kind of Gray Fox Inn, I think now. It's not there anymore as a bar. It's a little restaurant. Anyway, we played there, and the bikers would come in there, and I wasn't a biker. The bikers would come in there on Wednesday. They had free pizza, and they had 2 pizza ovens. So every 20 minutes, they would serve 2 pizzas. And then everybody, you know, the place is jam-packed.
Right.
So we played there. We got quite a few Wednesdays we were playing there. So I got to know a lot of the bikers and stuff. And then what happened was one guy, I forget his name. I wish I knew his name, but he was from Abate of Frederick. And he said, you want to come up and play our party? And he said, yeah. I think we were playing in there. We were only making $150 a night. We weren't making any money. So he said, what do you charge? I said, $200. He said, well, you only make $150 here. I said, how do you know? He said, I got my ways. I said, okay. I said, I'll tell you what, let's flip for it. If I win, you pay us $200. If you win, pay us $150. He said, all right. So we flipped for it. He won. So I had to play his party for $150. We played his party, but from there, some of the guys in Abate sent us out to the state party in Cumberland, Maryland. And so we played out there. And then we were hooked up with the Road Dogs. And then we also hooked up with some other Abate people. And so then we started working with the Road Dogs. They were a band that did like, they might have come back in a few years.
Yeah, they're back.
Right. They did Leonard Skinner and Molly Hatchet and this kind of thing.
Right.
Phil McCormick from the Road Ducks, he was originally in Jazzbo McMahon in Northern Virginia.
Right.
Then he went with the Road Ducks. And then he sang with Molly Hatchet for about 20 years. He just passed away a couple of years ago.
Right.
But he sang with Molly Hatchet. He was a great guy. Cool. So we worked with them, and that started moving us around in a lot of different places. And then we cut a little 45 record, and I had this friend, and we all talked about we wanted to go down and play Bike Week in Daytona.
Right.
And so this friend of mine, Mikey J, he went ahead and he got a hold of it, and he got us into the Pub 44 on Route 44 in New Smyrna Beach, about 15 miles south of Daytona.
Right.
And so we played there like Monday. We played there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Played there 5 days. And on Thursday, I had a big bash. It was a big blowout. It was probably 7,000 people there. And then Friday and Saturday, we just played at a little swap meet. But you talk about a funny story. So Saturday we were playing at the swap meet just in the afternoon. You just kind of stumble along and people walk around looking at motorcycle parts. Every now and then some people listen to you, but for the most part it's the afternoon, and no, they're not listening to you. You're just background music.
Right.
But a guy comes up and he goes, hey, the band last night, they had problems and everything. and they're not going to make it tonight. So could you guys play? And I was like, yeah, I think we could. And so we worked it out. Anyway, come to find out, so we played for a bait of Florida that night. So we got an extra gig, but also come to find out, one of the bikers gave the band members, I don't know if am I supposed to say this on the interview or not, but he gave them LSD. So the whole band started off playing, tripping. And of course, you know, you hear stories about Jimi Hendrix tripping and playing, you know, wherever, and he's doing fine.
Right.
Maybe not so fine, you never know.
Right.
And, you know, Carlos Santana at Woodstock said he's tripping. He said the guitar looked like Snake. He sounded fine.
Right.
Good job,
Right.
Carlos. But these guys were having a hard time with it, so they couldn't finish songs and stuff. So they literally, they almost broke they threw them out of there.
Wow.
I don't think they broke their stuff up, but they got rid of them. But so that's how we got that. But then from there, we hooked up with biker parties all around the country. So we'd been to Daytona, and we were meeting a lot of people, and people were talking to us. And so then we went to Sturgis, South Dakota, and played there.
Oh, nice.
And then we played across the country. Now we were playing from here to, you know, almost Wyoming, and then other places. So that really broke things open for us. That was just like, I don't know, it was like luck. We didn't really try to play on that. It was like a biker circuit, and we didn't really try. All of a sudden, it was just like, hey, we're on this, and, and there is a circuit,
right?
But it reminds me of another story, if I could go into that.
Sure.
One of the first gigs I ever played was for a motorcycle group. We were in this area. It was over at John Brown Inn on the Potomac River, above Brunswick, above Knoxville, Maryland, up in that area.
Right
Right on the Potomac, next to West Virginia. Anyway, this was a big biker club, and they had a mandatory party. And Jimmy Cooper, the singer at the time, he booked the thing. And the way he talked about it, we were going to this club, we were going to Hollywood, you know.
Right.
So we go to this club out in the middle of nowhere, and it's a pretty big bar.
Right.
I'd say, you know, the bar was probably from here to the house across the street.
Right.
And maybe about as wide as that house. You know?
Right.
So it was pretty big. So we were sitting out, I was about 18 years old, 19 years old. And one of the guys in the group comes up to me. This great big guy comes up and goes, "Hey man, how you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing all right." He said, excuse me, he said, "You see them windows down there?" He said, "When y'all get to playing, I want them broke out. You know what I'm saying?" I said, "Yeah, I know what you're saying." So I'm looking at these windows way down. I was like, he wants us to play real loud. And I'm thinking, ha, 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 we're going to be playing real loud tonight. Because Slim, my buddy, we grew up together, and he'd always be going, "Don't be playing so loud." So he's always on my back.
Right,
You're
right.
playing too loud. Oh, just when I thought I can always tell when it's too loud because it sounded good to me, you know.
Right.
Sounds really good. Oh, that means I got to change it. Oh, okay. So I was thinking, Slim, we're going to play loud tonight. You ain't going to tell me nothing else. So me and him were like brothers, you know, we grew up together. It wasn't 2 minutes later, this other guy, he's about 5'5", and he's like 3 feet wide, and he's all muscle, and he's got no neck. He's like,
Right.
He's like, "Hey man, how you doing?"
Right.
I said, "I'm doing all right. How you doing?" He said, "Good, brother." He said, "Look, man, I got a headache." You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I said, "Yeah, don't play too loud, right?" He said, "Thanks, brother," and walked off. I was like, that was weird. One guy just told me to break the windows out with the volume. The other guy said, "Don't play too loud. I got a headache." So we started playing this gig, and it's full of motorcycle guys. Right. Well, actually, before the gig, I was shooting pool, and at the time, I shot pool a lot, and I was pretty good. I could beat the average person.
Right.
I actually shot pool in town. I beat everybody in the masses. I mean, it's a small town, but when I say I beat everybody in town, I beat everybody in town to the point where
that's pretty good.
They would not play me for $1, or sometimes 3 guys would be playing 9-ball.
Right.
You know, and you get in it, and you get, as soon as I got in the 9-ball game, as soon as I won a game, everybody left the table.
Right.
Like I'd be playing 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden the game was over. I'm at the table by myself, you know. Right. So but anyway, so I was over playing pool. This was before the gig. And, you know, like one guy has like on a Confederate uniform and stuff, and he doesn't have a knife on him. like Branded. Remember that old Western?
Right.
Branded. But he's literally got a Civil War saber broke off. It's about this long. He's got this on him. I mean, this is in the 70s. You know, these guys weren't doctors on the weekends. And
Right.
You know, I mean, doctors during the week and bikers on the weekend.
Right.
These guys were.
That was their lifestyle.
They
Right?
were hardcore. Yeah, they were living it.
Yeah.
So I was shooting, and I beat about 6 of them in a row. I was, you know, they were all pretty high and stuff. So, and you know, but then it's like a little bird. He landed on my shoulder and said, "Tweet, tweet. You know, you might want to lose this next game." And I thought, yeah. And so then I just missed shots and I lost again. I said, okay, guy. But anyway, that was our first gig. As we played like, that was my first gig with Slim and Danny. And we played for, you know, I think we only played about an hour then. We didn't play a couple hours. We played about an hour.
Right.
And between the songs, you could hear like glasses clinking and stuff. No clapping, no talking. It's just like dead silence.
Right.
And it's just room full of 300 bikers. And there's about 15 women with them. It was mostly men. And so Slim looks over at me and says, the heck, man. He said, let's just jam. So we just jammed. And then they loved it. They all broke into applause. They loved it. So from then on, the rest of the night, it was good. So at the end of the night, we were talking with one of the presidents or whatever.
Right.
Big Kid was his name. And I told him, I said, what was up? This one guy told me play too loud, and one guy said don't play loud at all. What was that? That was weird.
Right.
He said, "Oh man," he said, "that's just a trick bag." He says that way, if you do this, it's a trick bag, man. If you do this, you're wrong. If you do this, you're wrong.
Right.
So
yeah, they're just messing with you guys.
Yeah.
Well, you're just starting out, and they probably can sense that, and so they're like, yeah, let's mess with these guys.
Yeah, we were kids.
Let's see if they'll do it, man.
Let's mess with these kids.
Right. Yeah. See if they'll do it. You know.
Hey, let's give them LSD.
Right. Oh,
see how they play on LSD.
That, man.
Then we'll get mad because they don't play because they can't play.
Right. That's wild, man. Yeah. I when I was in a country band back in the late 70s, you know, we were touring like from on I-10 between Odessa and Yuma, Arizona, down in the southern parts of New Mexico and Arizona, and we saw a lot of that too, you know, in a country band, you know, because they liked
right.
They liked the country music too, so we saw that. And it was really weird contrast because we went from like one bar that was mostly bikers to when we get to Yuma, the Marine Corps. And then now we got Marines out there, and they're just as rowdy as the freaking bikers. You know?
Sometimes more.
Right. So, you know, we went from one extreme to the other. So, but we did see something very similar to that, you know, and some really weird setups and situations. I actually did have a place we played at that did have the chicken wire in front of the stage, and I thought that was just to keep people from messing with our stuff, and he said no, that's to protect you from getting hurt.
Hit by a
they
bomb.
don't like you, man. They're going to throw stuff at you. You know, that was back in the late 70s, so we did see some stuff like what you're talking about. I definitely know what it's like, you know, when they're especially when they start messing with you, you know, and you're just like, oh man, you know, we want to keep the peace and we just want to have a good show, you know.
Yeah, well, once you know what you're doing a bit, you know, sometimes like guys will want to rush you getting on the stage or something. They'll like, hurry up. And you just say, you know, just relax. We'll start in a couple minutes. We just need to get ready.
Right.
In other words, don't start if you're not prepared to start.
Right.
That's worse than anything.
Absolutely.
You don't want to rush yourself. You want to take a few minutes, get yourself set and get yourself ready.
Right.
And sometimes people will be pushing you, you know, and you just have to say, no, just chill out, relax. Everything will be okay.
So let's talk about the 69 band. How long have you been in that band?
Well, 1982, me and John Reed started. I was living out. I went out for a little while. I did play country music. I played with Dale Wright and Jim Wright and the Wright brothers. Anyway, Dale Wright had a lot of talent. I don't know if he still plays. He might still play a little bit, but he just had a real smooth. He wasn't a great singer, just real smooth country voice. You know,
right?
Went down, and you know. doing all the country chords and just singing real smooth, real nice. So people loved it. And I got a job playing guitar with them. And Danny Noonan from the other band, he played with them. So when their guitar player quit or something, then because I knew the guy, so boom, I was in. But I played with them a year or two, played country music, and I enjoyed that. And I'm just really starting to learn country music. I don't really think of myself as a country guitarist, but I can play country a little bit.
Right.
But me and Jim Wright, Dale was the main guy, and Jim played bass and sang, and Dale played guitar, acoustic guitar, and sang. And we realized Dale had a good job at the county. You know, he had a good job at the county. So, like people, as a matter of fact, around Frederick area, they started offering stuff right down on Market Street. I forget the name of the bar, but we played there on the weekends and stuff. And he was offering us 6 nights a week, Monday through Saturday.
Right.
And me and Jim weren't working. It's wintertime, and we were kind of being bums, you know, rock and roll bums or country bums, you know.
Right.
Anyway, so I realized, and Dale turned it down. He said wasn't enough money, and me and Jim were like, well, you know, some money's a lot better than no money, and we'll be playing and we'll be, you know, keeping ourselves busy.
Right.
So this went on for a few months, and Dale, we had a number of offers, and Dale would just play on the weekend and stuff. We kept getting on, and we were starting to get offers to travel, to go other places,
Right.
to go to West Virginia, out in West Virginia and up into Pennsylvania and stuff. And Dale didn't want to leave town. So that's the only reason I like Dale, and I like country. I could adapt to it. I like country music. I like a lot of different music. And I would have did that. So I quit that. Then when I quit that, I was out. I was out of band. So I moved to Las Vegas for a little while. And I had been playing with John Reed at another time. And he's a bass player and a singer and stuff. And I moved to Vegas, and it just happened to be talking to him on the phone. He said he's going to start playing in another band, and something hit me. I said, I don't want him to start playing in another band, because I really liked him, and we got along good, and he was a good bass player.
Right.
And something inside me said, I got to go back and get with him. And I did. I came back to Maryland, and we started actually, we didn't start the 69 band right away. We played with some other guys around here. They might still be around here, the Knight Brothers, Danny, and shucks, if I don't remember his name, they're going to kill me. But anyway, the Knight Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
They were great singers and entertainers and stuff. And there was 5 of them. They did 5-piece harmony, but we were playing with 2 of them, 2 of the younger brothers. And they were good. They were good singers. They played bass. One guy just sang. One guy played bass and sang. And John actually at that time played guitar, and I played guitar. So anyway, we were putting that band together, and they would say they want to do this song and that song. At that time, you learn records, you know.
Right.
You had to put them on, and you know.
Yeah, right.
And then you had to pick it up, you know, put the needle back. Wasn't like now you just back it up or whatever. Or now you can slow it down, you know.
Yeah.
You can slow it down. I got one of those guitar things. You slow it down, that real fast. I got that one now.
Right.
So
just get licks down.
At that time you couldn't. So I'm trying to pick these licks out and stuff, and being all meticulous stuff. Like we go to band rehearsal stuff. These guys don't know the songs they want to do. This goes on for a while, and I told John, I said, man, I'm tired of this. I said, let's just start our own band. John said, well, who's going to sing? I said, we will. John's like, because we weren't good. I wasn't a good singer. I'm still not a great singer.
Right.
But anyway, so we went into band practice, told them we're quitting the band. We're going to start a new band. So Danny said, well, who's going to sing? We said, we are. They about fell on the ground laughing. I mean, I couldn't have told them a bigger joke. And so anyway, you know, I think over the years, we probably played as many gigs as they did, because we ended up traveling and stuff.
Right.
So that was 1982, and John and I, we had to get a couple of different drummers, and got Mark Jagger Bones to play. And it took us a year or two because we kept losing drummers. We get a new drummer. If you can't get the person in a band, you have to have the same personnel.
Right.
It's something about, you know, people get used to it. Once they like a band, you know, it's like Aerosmith or something, you know. They found out, you know, Steven Tyler, Joe Perry quit. And he gets some other guitar player. That guitar player might play circles around Joe Perry,
But
but
it
he ain't Joe
It
Perry.
wasn't Joe Perry, right? And that's
And the
what
people don't
wanted.
want. They want to see Joe Perry.
They want to see
when
Joe
they
Perry.
see Aerosmith.
That's right, because that's Aerosmith.
Right. You got
Right.
some other joker up there that ain't them. The only people will give you a slack if somebody dies.
Right.
You know, you give AC/DC slack. They didn't kick Bon Scott out of the band. He died.
Right.
It's forgivable. You can't bring him back.
Right. That's right.
Anything short of that, no.
Right.
We don't want to see no substitutes. You know, and so your local bands are like that too. So if you're just starting a band and you're changing personnel and everything,
Right.
it's hard to get traction.
Yeah.
You know,
It really is.
yeah. I mean, you get through the gigs and stuff.
Right.
You know, it's not the end of the world. It's not a catastrophe, but you're not really going to get traction.
Right.
And anyway, so went a few years like that, and then we got bones and really solidified. Well, I had Jerry Riley for about a year and a half, and we were really starting to solidify with him. And I told him when he started in the band, I said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to play around here, and we get going. We're going to go travel and everything, right? So we were getting enough traction, and this is before we went to Florida. We were getting ready to go to Florida, those gigs I was telling you about.
Right.
And I told Jerry, hey, we're going to go to Florida. We're going to be down there about 2.5 weeks. I said, also, we got a couple places in Georgia we can play on the way down and the way back. So it would probably be like 2.5 weeks. I don't think it'd be 3. We'll be on the road 2.5 weeks. He said, oh, man, a couple days later, he came back and said, man, I can't go on the road. I said, well, we told you we were going to do that. He said, yeah, man, but I thought you were bullshitting.
Right, yeah.
So we got Bones, and then Bones stuck with it. And then we were really traveling on the road.
Well, that's cool.
But in the band life, you really do need to stick with the same people.
Right.
It also really helps in the sense there's an invisible thing that develops. I don't even know if it might be like spiritual almost.
Right.
It develops between the people.
Right.
You know each other.
That's right.
It's like, it's at some point, the band knows how to make like a band. First you work on getting tight, and then you get so tight, you get loose.
Right.
And then you're really good.
Right. That's right. When you
first,
start playing off of each other, what the other guy's going to do.
Right.
And you're like, I'm going to play off of that. And then people can pick up on that.
Right.
That relationship that you're showing up on stage, that interaction is so natural and organic, and people just love that. They're like, oh man, these guys, they're like brothers, they're like family.
That's what it is.
It is. It's a family. It really is. When I joined No Exit, I replaced a bass player that was with them for a lot of years, so I know exactly.
It's a hard gig to start, but
it is.
You stay with it. You have to
rough.
just remember that he didn't do it overnight. You can do it. You got to stay with it.
Right.
And also, if you're really good, I mean, there's exceptions to the rule. If you really hang in there, it's, nothing is 100% absolute.
Right.
This is the way it is. That's just the way it is most of the time. Right. I mean, look at Van Halen. They changed people. They changed lead singers, and they were still successful.
Right.
But it was because they were so good.
Right. And then they brought in guys that were known, like, Sammy Hagar was known from Montrose. And, I know Mitch Beloy was an almost, he almost became their front man. So, it was probably as hard, as herding cats to try to find a front man for that.
I don't know if it's that hard.
I don't know. I think it was probably that hard because, you get a guy, he's locked in and you think it's going to work. And then all of a sudden they're like, I don't know if this is a good fit, Yeah. And then you're back to square one again.
And you're also like on big time like that. The spotlight's on you. The glare of the spotlight. Every little piece of dirt shows up. Every little niche, every little thing. Blah blah.
Right. Right. You're under a microscope. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that speaks to music too, on a small level and a big level. Success. Failure as a band's is your music, entertainment. Failure is an enemy, your opposition in anything, any kind of thing you're trying, anything in the world, there's opposition.
Right.
So failure is your main opposition. But in entertainment, it seems like success is an extreme opposition because now the guys I got a little more money, a little more freedom, and I think it's because musicians and entertainers. I was thinking about this the other day. It's because when you play, you try to play with feeling.
Right.
You try to have fun. And if you really boil it down, it doesn't matter what kind of music or entertainment you're doing.
Right.
If you can do it with feeling and have fun, then you're probably going to be successful.
Right.
But the trouble with the backside of that is when you start going off of your feelings, then you forget to turn your feelings off when you walk off the stage.
Right.
And if everything becomes feelings, then it's like, yikes.
You're right. Right.
Everything's fun, smoking crack for 3 days. I know a guy that I'm not going to say his name, but he's from around here and he was pretty big time. He was getting ready to go big time in metal. And some people know who I'm talking about. I ain't going to say his name.
Right.
He was on tour with some big bands and he stopped on the tour in LA to smoke crack for 3 or 4 days.
Wow, just got lost. Yeah.
It happened.
Yeah.
These guys die they die of old age at 36. They die of old age
Right.
Some of them die in their 20s of old age. But
right. Yeah.
Success, it's tough,
Yeah.
Failure sucks and success can be tough.
Right. Some people set themselves up for self-sabotage, they get successful and it scares them, I think, and then they try to sabotage themselves. I see that a lot. I do. I see that a lot, where somebody is just on the verge of accomplishing something and they're getting successful and then it scares them and then they'll do everything they can to sabotage themselves, and it's a weird human thing, to do something like that. And I've even experienced a little bit of it myself, where you have that uncertainty and you're like, well, maybe, I'll get sick or maybe something will happen where I don't have to do this,
Yeah.
It's really, really strange. So I know you guys are playing tonight up at Flicks, up in Tawny Town, and then you're moving on to Pennsylvania, right?
No, then we play at, there's a barn dance in Middletown. It's like a private thing.
Oh, right. Middletown, that's right.
There's a bluegrass band there. And then we play up to the bluegrass band
Nice.
Saturday.
Sweet.
And then Sunday we go up to Thomasville, the Racehorse Tavern.
Right.
Which is about 10 or 15 miles west of York, PA.
Right. So you guys are working around this area. It's nice.
Yeah. When I come up, I have to work. You have to play a bunch to pay for the gas.
Right. No kidding.
And also, if you're going to put guys, you're going to put band members, I shouldn't say guys, could be girls, whoever you can put on the road, you got to pay them.
Right.
A band, you don't play music or entertainment. You don't do it for money. I think if you're doing it for money, you're doing it for the wrong reason. But on the other side of the coin, if you don't make money, you cannot keep a band together.
Right.
If you don't make any money.
Yeah.
Because you have to have something to work for. You get together, we have to learn these songs. We have to do this. We have to do this so we can do this.
Right.
There has to be goals and there has to be things for to inspire you and move you along. If you just say, well, let's just get together in the basement, every Saturday and we're not going to play out. Well, it doesn't take long for that to be somebody calls up and says, hey, the wife and the kids, we're going to the beach this weekend, So, and then pretty soon playing once a week turns into once every 3 months.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's definitely got to be a goal.
You have to have.
Right. And dedication, a lot of dedication, people that are willing to invest time and put in the effort to make it all happen.
Yeah.
So it is essentially structured like a job.
Yeah.
We just have the luxury of it, having fun and doing it, and enjoying it and feeling it, experiencing the whole, like I said, a spiritual kind of thing, Not very many jobs have that, So I think that's where we're lucky when we're able to be creative and be musicians, versus, some guy that's out there burying pipes in the ground, unless he's passionate about that,
Yeah.
And there are guys out there that
That's
are.
right. You get passionate about burying pipes and stuff, you
Right.
make a lot of money.
Right, especially,
Because he's not doing it just for the money. He's doing it because he
he
likes
loves it. That's right. So he won't work a day in his life, right? That's what they
That
say.
is one of the keys to life. Do what you like. And,
Right.
even if you don't make that much money,
Right.
you have more fun. And you'll make it. You'll make enough to get by. You always get by. One of these guys down here, and he was from Maryland. I forget his name, but I saw a guitarist one time said, well, if you work at it, he said, no matter what, you can always get some kind of gig. He said, if you really got your heart in it
Right.
and you work at it, he said, you'll get some kind of gig. He said, you might not be big time, but you'll play someplace if you really want to.
Right. You'd be out there entertaining people. So where can we find the 69 Band on social media? You have a Facebook page, right?
Yeah, the 69 Band, Mike Lamberger, he does the 69 Band page. And also I do on Facebook. You can hit me up on Coman Sproles, and I post things on there.
And we'll put the links in the More tab at the bottom of the video so you can go to their band page and see where they're going to be playing. You guys put your events up on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then Coman Sproles on Facebook, and we'll put the link to his page as well so they can follow you, see what you're up to, man.
Okay.
All right, so you're performing up in Tawnytown this weekend, and you're doing a party in Middletown, and you're going up to PA on Sunday. Anywhere else after
Yeah,
that?
then I go home.
Back to South Carolina.
South Carolina, I go home.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the front porch today, man, and I really appreciate you joining me today.
Been good being.
And I'm going to follow you guys, man, and when we come down to South Carolina, I'll definitely connect with you,
That
man.
sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the front porch today. And we're going to put up the Razzle Report so you know where all the bands are playing this weekend. And, check it out. Support the live music and check out Coleman. Follow him on Facebook, see what he's up to, especially when he's down in South Carolina, man. I think a lot of us really want to be down there, get some beach time in. And the live music down there is fantastic, man. I really love it down there in Murrells Inlet.
Yeah.
All right, guys, have a great weekend and God bless.